Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence of Sound, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thank you so much, as always, for checking out the series, making your way here. You know the drill with these. If you like what you see and what you hear, hit that subscribe button. We put out 3 new interviews every single week. It's a great way to keep up with all of your favorite artists. And I know one of those has to be Max, who has this brilliant new record called Color Vision. How are you?
Thank you so much, man. I'm doing great. How are you?
It's great to talk to you, man. I'm doing well too. I really do want to congratulate you on all of the success that you've been getting, especially with the acclaim for this record. I mean, this is something special. This is something more than just the usual album, and I think that was sort of supposed to be the point, right? So, I mean, there was a grand vision in place for this. Is that correct?
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Wow. Thank you for the praise. I'm honored, and I think anybody, when you're working on something, you really want it to be a world. You want it to be a moment in time that you can look back on. And with this album, I really tried my best to create that world that I would be proud of, and the fans would hopefully find the most joy in.
Yeah, I'll back up a little bit. You know, when I listen to the record, a few things jump out, and one of the things that I love grabbing onto is there is a certain
Ooh, yeah,
theatricalness.
yeah,
What is the
totally.
word there? That's president, and I know you've done some Broadway work in the past,
Mhm.
but where does that come from for you? At what point in your life did that start making its way into your music, and why?
Yeah, I think I would say my live show and what I try to bring to the music is very theatrical from my roots of starting on the Broadway stuff, like you said. And just for me, I've always been drawn to artists and music where I feel like it's more of the world feels like it feels like its own movie. It feels like, you watch Purple Rain, you listen to that record, it's grander than life. And I love, when I saw Bruno Mars at the Hollywood Bowl and he humped and a firework went off. It's like those are the moments that I'm trying to capture in my music, and that's always the goal. That's the vision.
Yeah. Now, when you're writing, and I'll bring it up too, you've got the dual career. You know, you do the acting, you do the music. Because of that world, because of the TV and film world, do you have that in mind, like the cinema aspect of writing, as you're talking, like you're talking about in the live show, obviously, but is that part of your vision as you're actually writing the song?
It sometimes is, yeah. I think for me, I love seeing the music video, right away. Like with Blueberry Eyes is an example of I saw that blueberry bathtub right when, I finished the song. I just knew that in this world, this colorful world, I wanted that. That was the first piece that created the rest of the vision of that video. And I always feel like, acting was cool for me. I always appreciated it, but it's not the same passion that I have for music. So I appreciate that I came from that world and I got to basically use the things I learned. So when I create pieces for the music world, for the videos, and trying to make it its own little story, I try to just draw from that experience. But it definitely comes when it comes to little visions of how I want the video to be or how I want to perform it on stage. That's always the best when you write the song and then you can just see the people in the audience and how hopefully you think they're going to react to it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a name, I think, in your filmography past, Van Dyke's Park.
Oh, of
That
course, yeah,
completely made sense when I saw that, because it was like, oh my God, he played in Love and Mercy. Right. Of course. Because Van Dyke's, I mean, that's a guy who is known for taking a pop song, let's say just a normal pop song, and sort of twisting it out to this expansive part,
yeah.
I don't know, and I don't know your history, like before Love and Mercy, but is that someone, because we're talking like, his work with the Beach Boys and Nilsson and everybody else, like, is that something that had an impact on your life?
For sure. Pet Sounds is a great, obviously in that movie and with the Beach Boys, what a classic record of, I think every artist, especially when you're making pop music, which I love. I love pop music. And to me, even though the Beach Boys, it's legendary. It is pop music, and it's the best kind to me because you're taking risks, but you're also talking about stories of love and pain and hardship, and you're putting them in this safe space that also has a little twist. And I always feel like with those kinds of artists, those are the kinds of songs. Sometimes people will hear maybe a pop song of mine and I have the straightforward ones like Lights Down Low style, but then I always love when you go for it and someone is like, that's a little weird for a pop song. I love when you hear that because you want to keep it spicy and interesting. And I think that that's why Van Dyke and the Beach Boys, they kept creating new, exciting, amazing works that were just special because they kept one upping themselves and they're challenging themselves to create something that hasn't been done before in the genre of quote unquote pop.
Yeah. Yeah, the essence of injecting a little weird to it. I mean, I've always said, when you look back at the greatest songs of all time, the greatest pop songs, rock songs, whatever, there's always this at least a little bit of essence of something weird in there. I think that's important. Really glad,
Definitely.
yeah, you pick up on that too. There's a song that actually closes out Color Vision. It's called "There Is a God," and we were talking about Van Dyke. I mean, that's one of those prime examples of that
Hmm.
right there, because that's what I hear. You've got what could have been just a simple ballad, right? And there's
Hmm.
something else. Could you talk a little bit about that track and sort of how it ended up that way?
Absolutely, yeah. That's of course probably one of the most special in the whole album to me, and I think similarly, in their writing. So just I didn't think you were going to bring up Van Dyke Parks, which is so cool that you say it. But I love when you see a title and you think you know what you're going to hear, and then it's something that has a entirely different meaning.
Hmm.
And with that song, I knew it was going to be the last track. Just like when I wrote the intro track, Color Vision, I knew it had to be the first, the book ends. But for some reason with that track, it took so long. We did the production like 15 times over. At first, it was a classic boom bap production with drums and all that stuff. And I finally stripped it all away and thought, what would a classic do? And we got the real strings in, and we just really tried to bring the story out of it. But I think for me, there are those moments in your life where you just realize, whether you're spiritual or whatever you are, if you believe in God or not, there are certain moments where you pray to something, and that was that moment for me with that song and ending the record with it, because in the process of making this album, that definitely was the moment for me after this surgery and all these different parts where you realize who matters and what matters, and that was why I wanted to be the bookend.
Yeah, it's also an interesting take. I mean, there's a million songs written about the power of love, right? And to try to find a new angle, to come in there. You know, I,
Of course.
I was thinking of that cheesy line, the cheesy pickup line, like, "Are you an angel?" Because you fell from or whatever. And it's like this was like the other direction of something like that in a way more classy sort of way. Like
Thanks,
that's
man.
kind of a great angle to come in there. And that classic, we keep bringing up that, Beach Boys S, Van Dyke and everything, but it's also got sort of a soul sound kind of undercurrent.
Totally.
Is
I
that,
love soul.
yeah.
Those are my two biggest influences for sure. I love Etta James. I love Marvin Gaye. I love all
Mm,
the class, James Brown. I think for me, the music that I'm drawn to the most, it feels like someone ripped their heart out and painted the track with it. And that's definitely what those artists always did for me. Listening to the classics, the Sunday Kind of Loves, but also just, I'd Rather Go Blind by Etta James. It's like those soul songs.
right.
Oh, it just hits your soul in a different way.
I love the way you put that right there. Earlier, we were talking about your vision for this record, and you said you wanted to have, open up this world and everything. But what does that specifically mean? I mean, what specifically was the vision? What is this world that we're being led into?
I wanted it to feel like real stories that you can relate to, but just slightly out, in the same way when you watch a Disney movie, you watch a Wes Anderson movie, you listen to an album like Igor by Tyler the Creator. Just like those are great inspirations for me, in that you want to have a little bit of a theme that you're diving in. It's something you're not used to, but the heart of it and the stories of it are pieces you feel you've been through, you can relate to. And with this world, I wanted it to be hyper focused on the colors and being very monochromatic, and just having these characters that came in and out that you recognize, but also just you didn't expect. Like, I was so honored to have my friend Patrick Starr jump in on this checklist video, and having these characters just come in the moment where you didn't think that would be the coach for the boyfriend camp, for these different little pieces. And that's the same way that I always say with all the filmography of it, it really did. I wanted to be Wes Anderson meets Disney. The hope and the joy. I'm a sucker for romance and just finding that happy ending, but realizing that sometimes trauma is a part of that happy ending, and I feel like that comes in the Wes Anderson side more so. So that was the world I wanted to draw inspiration from, and hopefully have people follow along that realize that all the videos and the characters are the same, or they could just dive in like you're watching Law and Order SVU for one episode, and you figure you got the gist. You want to just these characters have been there, but you just wanted to get the one-time experience.
Right, right. Recording it over such a long period, and I only say that, there's what, 4 years in between releases,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
however long, whenever was the start of this and the finish, is it, what's the challenge then to hold on to the consistency of that vision? I mean, was that easy to do?
Honestly, the vision, the first 2 years was how I kind of used to do stuff. I was just writing songs, just trying to write the best songs. And I think honestly, I'm sure a lot of people can feel this. Sometimes something hits you like a ton of bricks, the classic cliches. You just have that trauma moment happen and you realize, what am I waiting for to create what I actually want to create? Like, why am I listening to all these people to just go for the big hit song and only focus on that and all these things? And so quite honestly, I had this surgery and everything changed for me. That was where Color Vision was born. I felt like
Mhm.
I want to make records like this. I want to make worlds like this. Why am I just being inspired by others? Why am I not just taking the initiative to do it? And sometimes you need that moment where you think everything's going to be gone so that you can have a moment again where you say, I'm just going to go for it. What do I have to lose? So it really was the last 2 years that were the real moment. And then songs just happen to work. Like Where Am I At was an old one that just I needed, they just fit perfectly. And sometimes those that kind of were in the middle of the album were always meant to be there. I just didn't realize it. It was like the girl who's always been in your life, and then you realize she's the love of your life all along, that kind of thing. Which kind of happened with my wife. I met her years, I was with somebody else and we kind of met at parties, and I never really paid mind because she was this really beautiful British girl, and I knew my current girlfriend at the time wouldn't like me getting friendly with this British girl. And then, suddenly I'm not with that girl anymore, and I go on a date with my now wife of 5 years, and that's it. So sometimes it was always waiting for you. It just was in front of your eyes.
And she gets all the good songs now. That's
She
it.
gets all the good songs. She does. It's true.
You mentioned the surgery a couple times. Is there a big difference in you as the artist? And I want to say as the artist, as the character of an artist in that sort of way. Is there a before and after that's very obvious to you?
I think so. In that I think I was always, if you're grinding, you're hustling, you're just trying to get to your goals. Sometimes you really do forget the journey. You forget the process. You just want to get the thing. And that all changed for me. Honestly, I enjoyed the process so much more after I recovered from that, realizing that it could all go away. I was so grateful that I trained to get my voice back and honestly feel even better than before because I took care of it more. And I think you just think you're invincible.
Yeah.
It happens in anything in your life. You think you're invincible until you're not. And that moment you're not, you just realize, oh man, don't take any of this for granted if you get a second shot. So that's how I felt for sure.
Yeah, so it's well said too. There's of course, a lot of great guests, collaborators all throughout Color Vision here. When you do sort of start realizing what you want the album to say, but you're also working with other people, how much of it is a compromise to you? I mean, does that ever occur where you have to let go to let them? I mean, especially when they're, writing their own verses.
100%, really hard at times. And I love collaborating. I'm a solo artist and only child, and I love having people feel a part of the thing we're working on, because I love the village and the community of it. And that doesn't always work out. I was really lucky with the majority of the features on this record because in the same way that I like to be, if it's their project, I just want to fit into it. What are you working on? I want to be represented as I would, not something completely different, but I do want to fit into this space you're creating. And I was lucky that, Quinn and SUGA and so many of the collaborators were just down for the cause and it fit their world too. But there's certain moments with certain artists sometimes where, yeah, it's well, this doesn't represent who I am, but it still needs to fit in this world. So you try to, it can't be a compromise for the music, I think, but some of the visual stuff, we definitely had some back and forth with some people that I didn't anticipate, but it's just a part of it. If you want to work with great artists to be a part of those visual elements, you have to be open to what's cool with them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
SUGA from BTS, of course, famously on Blueberry Eyes, which is just such a fun song to listen to. So the friendship part, we know all about that. What was it
Yeah.
like writing cross-culturally, though? Was that different at all?
So cool. Honestly, I just knew, I really had the album done. I had it done, and I didn't anticipate him being interested, being a part of it. Straight up, I know the story's been put out there a lot, and he asked me to be on his track, and I just said like, this feels. Well, he asked me first. Well, I have to ask if he'd be a part of mine. That feels so perfect, and it was kind of an afterthought. I was like, I kind of just trust in the universe. This came into my lap. He asked me to be a part of his project. Whatever we do together, it's got to make sense in this world. I just knew that we were getting along so well. I knew that he would respect the world like we're talking about in the same way I tried to with his. And he did. I mean, it was so cool. And I didn't want to put him in a box either. I wanted him to I didn't want to say you have to write in English or anything like that. I just said, here's the theme of the song. Here's the story. you know, how do you fit into it? And he did it perfectly. I couldn't have planned it better. You know, I couldn't have told him to do it better. It was so cool. And what a great unexpected moment. When I started this album, I didn't think there'd be a full Korean verse on the album, but that's why we do music. I realize it more and more as I travel for touring and everything. You just realize that that's why you do it. You want to just connect with people in whatever language makes sense to them or they understand. And if it's even more special because of that, because you get to cross pollinate, it's been both the most amazing challenge to work or promote a song like this, but so worth it because it's kind of unheard of territory. Like not a lot of people are going for that. And that's kind of when things are exciting, when it's a little uncomfortable and it's not just, oh yeah, this sounds like a big hit song or whatever. You're saying, you know what, there's a story to this and I have to put it out there. So it's been a fun surprise.
I mean, we talked earlier about, all the greatest songs again, kind of have that essence of something different. Obviously having a Korean verse, even just, I mean, the piano part in that, is that something you wrote or is that a sample? Because that sounds like so classic.
Well, I'm really lucky to work with these guys at Modern Roger, and Roger is the keys king. He is the master. He's kind of all the iconic parts you hear on songs like Sicko Mode, the Travis Scott, and Broccoli with Dram and Skywalker. It's like if you hear a classic melody keys, that's usually Roger. He's killing it. And so I did pretty much like 80% of the record with a Modern Roger. And Roger, how we start a song is we get in there and we're like, all right, Roger, you play around for a little bit. And he'll just start going. And if we hear something that sounds like a good melody, we're like, wait, do that one. Keep going for that. And I feel like that's why I love working with him, because he just like spits out these incredible classic melodies on keys, and it always catches you right away. And so with that one, with him and the other writer, Michael Pollack, they just kept jumping back and forth on piano, and it just felt theatrical. It felt like what I was always trying to go for, what we were talking about earlier. So it was great that he just, it feels classic, which is attributed to him.
It honestly does, Phil. That was so. What does the tour for this look like eventually? Do you sort of have that in mind at this point? I imagine you do, actually.
I'm sure you're hearing every artist talk about it, but I mean, I was really lucky. I got to kind of bring what I envisioned the show to fruition at the Greek for when the album launched, and to take the actual Rubik's Cube that we built for the album cover. And a lot of people think it's Photoshop, but we built it. It's a real giant Rubik's Cube. And we plopped that in the middle of the stage, and I have my whole band and I'm singing on top of this Rubik's Cube. And it's all the things that I had hoped for it to be in the theatrical sense, and just being on my knees on the Rubik's Cube singing it. That's what I want the show to feel like when we get to bring it all around the world, hopefully this year.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess it's sort of the hope as you're making your way around the world that some of these guests gets to pop on and be included, in certain stops.
Always the most fun. It's like Lollapalooza is it's my favorite festival in the US for sure. And my favorite thing about it is the camaraderie of jumping on. I've gotten to do features with other acts too. And when you jump on their set and do the song, and then Quinn jumps out in my set and does the song, I love doing that because it's just, it just makes you feel like it's not just yours. It's so wonderful to share it as when you are a solo artist rather than a band. It really is so nice to just share the moment with people that you love and respect. And it's cool now that a lot of these are international acts on the song. So hopefully when I get to go to Korea, if SUGA happens to be there, it'd be amazing to perform it for the first time in person, since, we haven't been able to do anything together because we've been across the world from each other.
Of course, you're going to have to hear yourself over the BTS Army. I think that's going to be
totally.
It's a passionate group. Max, congratulations. Color Vision it's brilliant. You've done something amazing here, and I can't compliment you on that enough.
Thank you, brother. I'm honored. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk about it too.
Kyle, thank you, brother. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the in-depth, beautiful compliments, and it's a pleasure being on the show. Thank you again.
Awesome. That's our cut point right there. I really do appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Brother. Dude, thank you for listening. Truly, I can always tell when someone really dives in as an incredible journalist, and you're that. Thank you.
I appreciate it, man. Take care. We will see you around.
Yeah. Talk to you next time. Peace.
All right. Bye.